and privileged that I am standing here and introducing one of the most known faces, our keynote speaker who has flown down all the way from Bangalore and is here to guide us, to inform us, to educate us. And with a huge round of applause, I would like to invite CA Abdul Rafeq sir. Sir is a fellow member of ICAI. He passed his CA final exam in 1985 when I was not even born, and CISA in June 1995 and the SA of ICAI in 2008. He has passed various other global certification exams such as Certified Quality Auditor, Certified in Governance of Enterprise IT, Certified Fraud Examiner, Certified Internal Auditor, etc. Okay, the list still goes on. Sir is a popular technology evangelist for CAs and believe in empowering CAs by harnessing power of technology. He has special expertise in the area of IT governance using COBIT and IT assurance using data analytics. He has experience of 35 years in various roles such as CFO, CIO, IT implementer, IT consultant, IT auditor, data analyst, and CAAT IS audit trainer. Sir has presented on topics of COBIT, IT, audit, and CAA TTS at international conference workshops of ISACA chapter and corporate. Sir, इतना introduction में होगा नहीं. Introduction तो पूरा ही देना. Across the world in more than 15 countries. The latest was 3-day training on COBIT 2019, implementation for digital governance team of ACLEDA Bank in Cambodia. He has conducted many training programs on the use of data analytics and BI for assurance and fraud investigations for various professional organizations in India and abroad. So was a practicing chartered accountant, specialization in information technology audit for more than 20 years. Since last 10 years, he is the managing director of Windsor Infotech Limited, which specializes in developing data analytics solutions for auditors, fraud investigation and management. He is a regular contributor to ISACA. Well, the name is very known. His recent articles are 7 Habits of Highly Skilled Digital Trust Professionals, COBIT Design Factors, a dynamic approach to tailoring governance in the era of digital disruption, using COBIT 2019 to proactively mitigate the impact of COVID-19. COVID-19, I hope you get that. Systematic approach to implement a governance system using COVID-19, a COVID-19 case study. Sir, I please request you to please come and inform and educate and train all of us. Sorry, before that, I'm so sorry. Before that, I would request CA Shubroto sir to please come and present sir with a flower bouquet as a token of gratitude. May I have CA Rajat sir, please? And now let the learning begin.
When I passed my CISA, we formed the Bangalore chapter. ISACA Kolkata chapter was also formed at that time, and we used to conduct a lot of seminars, conferences. I used to be a regular attendee in the conferences. I had given up traveling since last 5 to 8 years, and I think Subroto ji has been calling me since many times, but this time I decided I'll go ahead. So thank you very much for this invitation. I'm delighted to be here once again. And compared to Deepak's presentation, Deepak, if you say it's like a one day, mine would be like a T20 match. I'll not have too much of interaction, but I'll have interaction. But I have a lot of content which I want to present to you. Recently, I wrote an article, the latest article which I wrote is available on ISACA's website. If you search with my name, you'll get, I think it was titled, Experience of 27 Years, 7 Tips and Insights from COBIT Journey of 27 Years. I've been using COBIT since the first edition. So that experience of 27 years, I try to put it in 7 tips and 7 insights or key lessons. I think if you have time, you can go through that. Today morning, when I woke up, the first idea which I had was, based on my experience of being more than 37 years as a professional and being on this planet for more than 60 years, I was thinking, what are the 7 tips I can share with you based on my life experience? So I just got some ideas, and the 7 tips for life and profession, maybe I'll share it with you at the end of the day. Now, this is the reward which I get for presentation. Now, although I have been doing this type of audit since many years, and I've also given up since last 10 years, still when I have to prepare, I prepare, probably you will say I over-prepare. Now I'm so much prepared that if you take this one topic, I can do a one-day seminar, and on cloud computing, probably I can do a 2-day seminar. But what I would like to do is, all this hard work which I have done, I would like to see that you are able to carry this as a capsule. Now for this presentation, the big learning for me was, probably I spent about 20 hours going through about 20 publications and about 50 articles pertaining to various things before I came to this core idea which I wanted to present to you. Before I get started, I'd like to start with a story. Most of you are aware of Mahabharata. I used to be fascinated during my primary school when my teacher used to narrate the story of Mahabharata. You know, in Mahabharata, there is a common Acharya, Dronacharya. He was the one who taught Pandavas and Kauravas. But now if you bring in the concept of ethics, they are taught by the same teacher, but Pandavas had their own principles, Kauravas had their own principles, and regardless of the teaching, regardless of the data which was fed, there is something which is ingrained inside that we made them use the data, infer and use the data in their own way. So if you look at AI also, quite often they say AI, if you look at currently my understanding is, there's a lot of hype about AI. Everything, for example, tomorrow I think you won't be surprised, AI Masala Dosa, AI Chana Bhatura, designed by. Now what is important I have learned, especially in technology, I was in Tally from 95 to 96, for about 2 years I was in Tally, and I used to head one division called as the Strategy Technology Department. And our primary focus, one of the responsibility was to take a peep into the future, into emerging technologies, and see what is the technology which is coming in the future, which we can build inside Tally, and to be competitive. And we used to do a lot of research, and at that time I think IoT was a big craze. They say IoT is going to change the world, like that. Now if you just look back 5 years back, now there used to be hype about 3D imaging. 3D imaging, say people were saying, you look at the AI experts, we will live for as long as you want. You can have a AI, the 3D image heart, you can have 3D liver, all those things. But what happened? You see that not much progress there. Okay, I also remember there is a few more technologies like that, which are supposed to change the landscape of the world. I have been seeing a lot of Gartner seminars, and I found most of the cases in Gartner, there is also called as technology hype, there is a reality, and there is a drop. So in any new technology, now AI is the craze. So you should know, whatever is there will be AI which will be added. Somebody is doing coding, you'll also have AI. So you have a car, AI-driven car. So everything will be AI. So it's important, as far as you're concerned, you need to distinguish what technology can do, what technology cannot do. So there are basic questions I always ask. One question which I've asked from the technology guys from whom I've learned. I'm also a chartered accountant. I just passed a general thing. I didn't do any technology courses. Whenever I used to be consulted to a bank and the technology guys used to come and give the presentation, and one question I used to ask, when they give a lot of talk about what the technology can do, the only question I used to ask is, so what? Okay, so what means that guy should be able to translate that and tell me what is the business value it delivers. Like if there is one advertisement, I remember, kitna deti hai. Okay, finally we are interested in my life. In business, if anybody is using technology, nobody uses technology for technology's sake. Everybody uses technology for deriving business value or a competitive advantage. As auditors, we have a fundamental responsibility and a great differentiator because we can understand technology well. Now, backed and complemented with our understanding of information systems, accounting, auditing, and then also legal compliances, this becomes a very magical blend. So the only thing we need to do is we need to understand basic questions of technology. If you can understand technology, basically in terms of what the technology does, what are the key features? Next, what are the risks and limitations? And how do you mitigate that and make it work? These are the basic questions you need to ask. So first start with so what. In this presentation also you find there will be a lot of questions I'll be asking. So if you're doing third-party risk management, because third-party risk management is something which you have to do in most of the cases, you can use this particular concept. And see, even cloud computing, which I'm going to talk about, there are a lot of questions which are asked. These are basic questions which any auditor can ask. You can definitely find value from that. One thing I found is every profession has a perspective. An auditor has a perspective, an accountant has a perspective, a poet has a perspective. Javed Akhtar ji was once asked along with Shabana, आप इतने romantic हो क्या घर में भी? And that fellow said, हमको romance के पैसे मिलते हैं. हमारा romance आता है जब पैसे मिलते हैं. So he says, I right. हमारा वहीं पे खत्म हो जाता है. That's what he's saying. So what is important is to bring in the right perspective. Let's say a poet goes to a rose garden. What do you think the ideas or thoughts will emerge out of him? If an accountant goes to a rose garden, or if an auditor goes to a rose garden, auditor जाएगा तो पहले गिनती करे कितने हैं. There are a lot of, if audit tea garden also, rose garden also, you look input क्या है, output क्या है, where is the risk, what are the controls. So every profession has a perspective. So it means we have got a pattern which we have built inside our mind. Now let's say I have not learnt much of technology. Regardless of what will be the technology, let's say now we have got AI, tomorrow something else, BI may come or something CI may come, whatever technology is there, I can definitely audit that. I can derive value. So what are those framework of principles? And that's what I'd like to share with you in this 120 minutes which we got. Before I begin, I'd like to take you to Kurukshetra. The battle was about to begin and Arjuna told Krishna to take me to the center of the battlefield near this one, where the armies were meeting, and then he saw all of them, all his gurus, Bhishma, Dronacharya and so many other seniors, and then he said, I think I can't fight. At that time, Arjuna gave him the Upadesha, which became the Bhagavad Gita. In the palace of Kurukshetra, the king, Dhritarashtra is sitting with Sanjaya. Sanjaya is his assistant who has been given Drivya Drishti, which means he can see what's happening in the battlefield and I can tell Dhritarashtra what's happening. Now Krishna starts his Upadesha, Bhagavad Gita. He narrates the 18th chapter. At the end of it, what does Arjuna say? If you go and read the Gita, in the end he'll say, my confusion is cleared, I have got clarity. Okay, now I'll fight. Because he says, I'm not fighting for a personal cause, I'm fighting for a personal reason, I'm fighting for a cause. He fights. Now there are three types of listeners here. The first type of listener was Arjuna. Okay, Krishna was also a listener because it was not a one-way interaction. Krishna also interacted. There was the interaction. Now in the palace there are two listeners. Who are the two listeners? Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. Now, which means there are four listeners, but they say basically there are three types of listeners. Now I want you to tell me, who are these three types of listeners here? Dhritarashtra was also listening to everything which Sanjaya was saying, but did it make any impact for him? Because he was only interested in listening whether his sons are winning the war, when the war will start, when his sons will finish Pandavas and there becomes the absolute monarch. He was only interested in that. All the Upadesha, water Gita was there, went above his head. And at the end he became frustrated and angry. Why? The data was fed. It was not, there was no input taken. Sanjaya, if you look at Sanjaya, he also took data. At the end of the 18th chapter, when Sanjaya says, you see what he says? He says that I'm thrilled, I got this opportunity to listen to this Upadesha. My life has been blessed, this one is there, like advertisement, no? He says, it's been so great. I had this wonderful opportunity to listen to this. That's all. After that, kuch action hai? No, he says, it was wonderful listening to that. Okay. ठीक है. Arjuna, what does he do?
Takes action.
He takes action. Okay. Now, if you look at AI here in this context, how do you bring in AI here? The same data is fed to both, to all the three, Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra and Arjuna. And how do they react or react? There's one who's an active listener, who's looking for clarity. Okay, who's looking for Upadesha, he's ready. And then he asks questions, clarifies, and based on that he's ready to act. Sanjaya, his only job was limited to listening and seeing and communicate. He did that, he's very happy, And for him, it's a bonus. Yeah, it's such a great speech. He's very happy that. Dhritarashtra, he is not bothered. He says, it's a waste of time because I didn't listen to anything of interest.
So actually, sir, they were fed the same data, same sets of data, but their algorithm was different.
Yeah. So it means internally how they process the data. This is called an AI engine, no? The AI engine, the pattern which develops, that's what is different. It said long back when the initial pace of AI started, people want to teach a computer robot how to cross a road. If it's a human baby, what will you do? You tell him what is to be done. Take right, look left, and then look left, right, like that. You see front, and then see based on that you move. Same thing was trained for the robot. The robot was brought. A lot of press people were there. They pressed the button, cross road. The robot looked right, looked left, looked up, and stopped. They again pressed because there was no traffic. The robot did not move. They disappointed. They went back to the lab and saw the code. Why did the robot not cross the road? Then they found there was a car which was parked nearby. So how did the robot process it? It looked right. It saw there's a car, but it was not programmed to recognize that whether it's a moving car or a standing car. So it saw a car, it stopped. So that's what happens with AI. I've been using AI since last ChatGPT especially. So the last maybe 6 months to write articles on this one, and I'm happy that it is there. I'm also disappointed it doesn't give so many things. Maybe it will improve. But the only thing I'm saying as a matter of caution is, be careful when anybody attaches AI tag in front of this one. Okay, for everything there is AI, but as though you are concerned, you should always understand what technology can do, what it cannot do, and then how well it can be used. So leave the hype and focus on the practical reality. This is what I want to focus on. Let's get started. Another important thing, especially about ChatGPT, I found that it can bluff very confidently. It's structured in a particular way. It will give you the wrong answer also, and the language it puts you in a very, very positive way. You will tend to believe it. Okay. So you have to be always carry that take it with a pinch of salt. Another important problem, especially with this AI-based learning tools or ChatGPT, is it also says, even the makers do say that it hallucinates, which means sometimes it loses focus. It gets so many confusing ideas. Like I said, this one, treatment, what will happen when there is a particular decision to be done. See, finally, human beings have to take decisions. Okay, so AI also has to take decisions. If AI has to take decisions based on contrary, it has to take based on facts. Now in that case, does it operate on democracy? Like you said, 90%, okay, 90% of the kar denge, anything more than 51% will act in that way. It cannot be in that way. Because there are so many factors and parameters we have to take into consideration. Human beings, I found, learn by patterns. And that's the beauty of human beings. For example, I have been going to different places, talking to different people from different states. And all of a sudden I found when somebody speaks, this guy is from Kerala, and this guy is from Kolkata, or this guy is from Maharashtrian. How do you think I was able to make? I didn't consciously do that. But somehow it became part of my this one, because each one had their own accent of pronouncing certain words. Based on that I was able to do. Then I found my brain has actually done that, which means it has found out the pattern and it is giving me that particular intelligence. The basic difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence is, artificial intelligence, they are trying to teach it to learn by patterns. In the case of coding, we have to give instructions and act exactly as per instructions. Whereas in the case of machine learning or artificial intelligence, what happens is the machine learns on its own. Okay, so if you teach about cat and dogs after some period of time, then you bring in certain things, it will also be able to learn further and go further. That's what happens. And this where I said there's a lot of hype that it can do so many things. It becomes, it can take over human beings, all those things. But one irony is, they said God blessed us as human beings with a brain. And to look at most of the scientific research, they say we don't even use 5 to 10% of our capacity. And most of our capacity, most of our brain potential, now you find the technology is coming in, the focus is on dulling your brain. You look at social media, you keep on clicking YouTube, you keep on taking input. You're not processing anything in your brain. Nobody is asking you what is the result of this 2 hours spent on YouTube or video or social media. But what happens? you're only given input. So it means you are limiting your capability which you have been given. And you want to run behind more and more technology which can enhance our capabilities. So what is the fundamental message which I want to convey? Apne andar jhanko. So there is a lot of potential inside. I think we need to look at inside and see how best we can exploit the potential. And there's always this, what is that? When machines learn how to run men, what do you think men have to do? Men have to learn how to control the machines. Because if you don't know how to control the machine, then there will be big issues. In the case of this one fundamental question we always ask about technology is, will AI replace human beings? And you know the standard answer? AI will replace human beings with human beings who know AI. So, if I long back remember, I think probably here also it is there, we used to have the Tongas, no? Tongas, horse cart. Khode ke piche lagate na. So there used to a lot of things at that time, no, instead of auto rickshaws. Now after some period of time, the horse cart is gone. You find a few of them scattered, but now most of them are driving auto rickshaws or cabs. What happened to those fellows who were there, who were riding this Tongas? They became cab drivers or auto drivers. So in technology, that's what is important. They say technology is a road roller. You should be on top of it or you will be under it. So we should learn technology, and that's what is very, very important. We should learn how to keep on learning technology. And the most important advantage of ISACA is it provides you a knowledge repository. And then with that knowledge repository, you can use it for anything you want. In fact, Deepak was talking about this AI framework, everything. There are 2 publications on machine learning by ISACA, which explains to you in very simple way what machine learning is all about. And as an auditor, if you have to audit, what are the key factors you have to take into consideration? That's what is important. When learning technology, I always give this example. Let's say you're driving on a highway. You can't expect the highway to be lit, but you've got headlights. What is the range of the headlights? It could be 100 to 150 feet. But with that 100 to 150 of light, you can drive hundreds of miles. What is important is that your headlight should be on. In technology also, there are so many technologies which will keep coming. I think it's very important that we learn how to use the relevant technology and the right. We don't need to know everything. We don't need to see till, let's say, 100 kilometers to be able to drive to 100 kilometers. I can keep driving and then keep moving, and that's how we keep on learning. Okay, this is the basics which I wanted to cover. Let's get started. There are 4 key points I'd like to cover in this presentation. The what and why. TPRM stands for third party risk management. We'll look at outsourcing because this is basic. In fact, the beauty was, I remember I said I traveled to 15 countries. One of the country I went to was Switzerland, where I went to present Eurocax 2002. 21 years back, I once again went to the slide and I made a presentation on how to audit outsourcing using COBIT. And some of the presentation, I found some of the slides which I made, I found they are definitely relevant even now. So what are the message? The fundamental aspects of principles, of knowledge, of processes, systems still remain. Okay, now you got outsourcing. Earlier it was outsourcing, now we call it as cloud computing. The same concept apply, and that's where I'm going to take you towards that particular path. So what is important is, they say technology drives everything you're doing, and that's where we call digital, everything is digital. But what is important is, every enterprise, every profession wants to have what is called a digital transformation. How do you transform? Like you have this insect which is able to transform or metamorphose into a butterfly. Now you look at that insect which is there and this butterfly, they're completely different, but they're able to transform. With technology, we can bring in the transformation. And as auditors, if you're able to understand this, especially as IT auditors, it becomes, whether we are IT implementers, IT auditors, we can pave the path for the enterprises. And that's where the key differentiator is. And that's when we can bring value to the clients. So there are 4 aspects you'd like to cover. First is the what and why. Next is outsourcing. We'll look at some fundamental concepts, the way to perform, and some guideline tips and tricks. Before that, I thought I should just give you a peep into the future. There are some Gartner webinars which I have been attending, where they talk about the top strategic technology trends which are there, and this is what they talk about. What will happen, what Gartner is saying about the future of AI, they say AI is going to become a partner. There will be AI trust, risk and security management becomes critical. Now we called about TPRM, now they have got a term called TRISM. Okay, which means in the case of AI also, there is going to be trust which is going to be fundamentally important. Long back I remember when I had gone to Singapore, I had seen an advertisement of a newspaper. The one-page ad which had a beautiful car, and in the bottom it was written, on top it was written, in life, control is everything. Lose it, your history. What is the message he was talking about? There are so many cars which are advertised. Some talk about mileage, some talk about so many other features, space, all those things. What is this car manufacturer communicating? In life, control is everything. Lose it, your history. What happened to Super Princess Diana? She was riding the most sophisticated car. Okay, it's supposed to self-brake and all those things, but still she lost life. So what is most important in the car, whatever be the sophistication, is whether you can control it. In technology, that's why they say, in God we trust, rest we audit. And that's where audit will always remain relevant in the future. Not only now, but also in the future. Because what we provide as auditors is trust. Trust in technology. And this we do by actually understanding how technology works, what are the risks, what is the security, and how controls can be implemented. Now if you look at the second point, be safe. What is be safe? Continuous threat exposure management. Now you find the most intelligent and the most innovative guys in technology field, you know who are they? The hacking community. Okay, the guys who are who want to make money by spending a least time. You find some emails, you find so many, they'll keep on coming with innovative ideas. And what is surprising is, in even a city like Bangalore, we find this technology guy filed a complaint that he lost 5 lakh rupees, this person lost 20 lakh rupees just by this fake mails, because they keep on finding new ways of using technology. And that's where they say organizations also have this risk, the threat which they have to take care of. Next, protect the future by sustainable technology. So sustainability is something which is there, which is very important. Developer-driven self-service platform engineering, which means now they say coding is going to become relevant. Now you have platform, based on that you can develop tools which you want. Next, accelerate creation, AI augmented development. Now what they're talking about is, this is what I also did. Recently I wrote an article, at least in the last 2 articles, I've used ChatGPT extensively to do the research. And what ChatGPT says, I know what to use, what not to use. And I don't take everything which is given by ChatGPT, but I modify it, adopt it in my way of thinking, because I'm clear on the theme or the idea which I have. Based on that I'm able to do it. So it says you can use ChatGPT. Now there have been a lot of talks. Every other place you see in Institute, ISACA, you find there's a talk on how you to use ChatGPT. But the fundamental thing you need to ask is, in the case of you have something called a prompt, you should ask the right questions. And then you should be able to, like they say, if you ask the question why, okay, why are you here? If I ask you, what do you say? To gain knowledge, to update my skills. Why do you want to update your knowledge? Like that they say, if you go to 6th layer, if you are able to find the answer, you will become enlightened. Okay, so what is important in ChatGPT also is to be able to ask the right questions. And then based on the fine-tune the questions, it will keep on giving the answers. And don't take 100% of what it says correct. Pick up what you want to use. That's the question? Yeah. Okay, next. So it means you can create, for example, let's say I'm planning to write a few books. I'm planning to use ChatGPT extensively, but I know what it can do, what it cannot do. So it means first I should be ready with the framework, I should be ready with the ideas, I should have done all the research. Based on that, I ask the questions. Some of the cases it can supplement, some of the cases it can clarify. So everyone can use ChatGPT, there is no problem about that. And even the free edition itself is more than enough. Now Google also has come with equivalent, which is called as BARD, B-A-R-D. And that also is very good. Now compared to ChatGPT, BARD is much more useful and powerful. Why? Because BARD is trained up to date. And it keeps on continuously getting trained based on what questions people have asked. the most important thing is, whatever response is given, take it with a pinch of salt. Okay. Not only that, in the case of Bard and even ChatGPT also, you find whenever it is giving the answer, Deepak was saying, it also gives you the reason. It also gives the reference of the links why it came to that particular answer. Explore that and based on that come to a conclusion. Okay, tailor's work. This is also another thing which we talked about. You got cloud. Vendor is offering something. Now you can further tailor it based on what you want. Next, optimize decision making, intelligent applications. Applications which can take intelligent decisions. For example, let's say there used to be a story where a person is going on a family trip with his wife and a child of 4 years. He goes to an ATM, buys a ticket, and he gives the date, everything. After giving the ticket, after the money, the application also tells you at this time of the weather when you're going, it will be very cold. Take warm clothes. Okay. In your case, you find that you also carrying a child. For the child, it's better that you carry this type of a medicine. Okay. That's what is it? It is not asked, but based on the past data, it is able to give its own decisions, which is relevant. That's what is most important, and that's where the future is going to come in. Optimize decision making, intelligent applications, power and responsibility, democratize generative AI. So, like I said, the decisions are going to be based on who feeds the maximum amount of data, and that's why you see many of the cases they cheat the ChatGPT by feeding a lot of wrong information by asking the wrong questions. So, if you keep on asking racial questions, the ChatGPT learns from that, and then he also answers in the same way. He or she will answer in the same way. Then push the pioneers, augmented connected workforce, which means what? Now you look at a person who's sitting here, he can connect to somebody who's sitting in Switzerland, and you could be somebody sitting in US, everywhere. Wherever they are, they can collaborate and work together on different projects. And then buyers with bytes, there will be machine customers. What is the machine customers? This is interesting thing. What is the machine customers? Now, for example, let's say the government has put auction. They say, okay, we have got this, or even a company has put this one, develop an application. Okay, so many units which you have to buy from different units. You give your a requirement. Okay, they give the requirement based on the rules we have given. It automatically places the order. So now you have the machine which is taking the order based on certain rules and principles which have been defined. And this is what is going to happen more and more. Top strategy, protect the investment. This is going to be fundamentally important. What are you doing? Everything in technology comes with a cost. So you should know how to protect your investment. There is a continuous threat exposure management which you have to manage. Especially you would have come across some cases where the whole IT infrastructure collapsed and they're not able to do the operations for 20 days or 30 days like that. So there are type of huge threats which are there. And this can be taken care by basic simple things. For example, let's say there is a malware which is there, which corrupted the data. Now the basic question is, do you have business continuity policy? Have you taken a backup? Do you have backup policy? Where is the backup? Okay, where is how many copies of backup are there? Where is it being kept? If they take a backup as per a backup policy which is well thought of and designed, then they'll not have a worry about malware. First they have to educate the people about malware, don't click on these links. Second thing is, even it happens, they know they can restore and the disruption would be limited. Next we have industry cloud platforms. So you'll have cloud which is for a particular industry. Then rise of the builders, which means the people who are going to develop these solutions. Then you have deliver value, where we are going to look at machine customers, augmented connected force, like that. So these are the broad ideas which they say technology is going to evolve in the near future. So primarily, if you look at any technology, what we look at is whether I can trust the technology. What is the risk? What is security management? And how do I do that? And whether it's AI or you go back to the long back, I started this one. Got passionate with technology. Basically, by the part of my CA inter course, I had to learn what is called as SADP, systems and data, and some of you might be there. And I found it didn't go to my head. So I joined a basic computer course, and that's where they're also teaching basic and COBOL. And I found just by this one, you can make machines work. Now it's like human beings have tamed animals, which means horse or any other animal can do what you want to do. Here you find an inanimate object and you can make it do what you want. And that is the wonder of technology. And for me, that is the fascination, that you can make technology work. If you're building any solution, you can make technology work. You can augment your skills. That's what is most important and fascinating. So in most of the cases, you will have this things which you have to take care of. Democratize generative AI. The more and more people feed in the data, it operates on that particular thing. Now, if you see social media, for example, let's say you visit YouTube, you saw various types of videos. Next, what is the recommendation that will come to you? Will be based on the same pattern. You go to Facebook, you clicked on certain things, the next thing will be based on that. Okay, so they are able to identify, which means that machine is able to identify just based on what type of things you clicked or saw that you are this type of person, and he keeps on feeding you that. But what is the advantage of that? Advantage is you get into that particular flow. Okay, if I am a person who has some radical thinking, it will keep on giving me information about those type of videos only. If I am a person who is of a philosophical bent of mind, it will keep on giving me videos of that particular thing only. But as a human being, I am not radical or philosophical. I am a combination of so many things. But what happens in most of the cases in social media, you look at one particular pattern and they keep on feeding you on that particular thing. That's the bias you should be aware of. And you don't know that you have been, once you build a particular thing, you keep on building, the social media keeps on feeding you and makes you like a robot, okay, in that particular way of stream of thinking only. That's where I think you have to be very, very careful that you don't get stuck in one way of thinking. I remember 15 years back, I clicked on one Google, search on Google for, let us say, for hearing aid for some of my relatives. It's more than 15 years back. Now, what is the ads which I get when I click on my mobile? There will always be ad about hearing aid. Now, just imagine, now 15 years back, this one I clicked. Even after the 15 years, still I'm getting the ads pertaining to that. And that is the limitation of this one here. I passed my CISA in 1995, 20 years back. Still I keep on seeing advertisement on Google pertaining to CISA. There's a 10% offer, this particular CISA. I've already passed, why should I require this? But they keep on giving advertisement. What is the problem here? The problem is either with Google, the logic itself, or the people who are actually promoting, paying money to Google for this. So there is a limitation. Somebody is doing audit, they should be able to tell that why are you spending money. If I have to consult with ISACA, I'll definitely tell them why are you wasting money on this. Because you are this one advertising on the people, you are selling to people who don't need to be sold. Okay, so these are the certain biases which should be aware of. So this is an issue of the democratized this one. So you should always know that, okay, if you're seeing certain thing, are you getting into a particular pattern or rhythm? And that's where if you get into the particular pattern or rhythm, you can be easily manipulated. And that's what's happening in many of the cases where they say the selection fraud, everything, where they can keep on feeding you information. Then your mind will, what happen is, you keep on even telling a lie 100 times. After some period of time, what will happen? You tend to believe it's the truth. And that's what happens with social media or any of the campaigns. And Hitler was one of the first who was an expert in that. How to bombard people with social media campaigns. Now let's come to the first topic, the why and way of performing effective third-party risk management. Before we go, I always go to the fundamentals of the concept. What is this TPRM all about? TPRM means third-party risk management. There is an activity or a service which I want and I'm outsourcing it to a third party. If I'm outsourcing it to a third party, what should I consider? What are the factors I take into consideration? So it means fundamentally it's all about, whenever you have TPRM, it's fundamentally about outsourcing some of the services. One basic principle you should know, when you are outsourcing, what is that you outsourced? You outsource this service, not the responsibility. If you have outsourced payroll processing to a company and they have failed to file and pay the TDS, who is responsible? As income tax department, who does it consider liable? The company, not the service provider. But you should have a clause in the service agreement that in case they don't file, if there is a penalty or this one, then they will be held responsible and they'll have to compensate the company for that. Now, if you tell the income tax department that actually have an agreement and this fellow is supposed to do, what do you think the income tax department will do? He'll not send a notice to the service provider. He say, as far as we are concerned, you are legally responsible. So this is what you should know, that you are legally responsible. So you should have now the pros and controls which are there earlier. Your process and control shifts from managing the control environment inside and looking at access controls for the people who are processing the payroll data to how the data is actually fed to the service provider, what controls we have to ensure that all the controls are met and the compliance are taken care of. And for that there is a service level agreement, and you should ensure that those are taken care of. So if you look at some of the fundamental factors, in the case of outsourcing, there will be formal agreement. Now the important thing is, what should the formal agreement contain? Next, service level agreement, which tells you these are the minimum terms, guaranteed terms, delivery terms, and this is what you're going to pay them. There is a service provider, which means the third party who has been outsourced, and then you also have service user, which means within the company who is responsible, and then you also have organization using these are the key parties in any outsourcing agreement. Now, if I was telling you about this framework, I also written an article on framework modeling. There's a brief article about 1,500 words. ISACA said 1,000 words only, but I could not restrict it. It came to 1,500 words. If you search, you will get this particular article. And this is a new concept which I'm talking about. I talked about framework, we have modeling. Now, any framework, what is the framework? People attend, for example, if you see ISO 27001 training, 5-day training, paying 25,000 rupees. Or let's say there is a IT service provider, IT training, like that, PMBOK training, like that, there's various type of training. What does that framework include? There is, or COBIT, there is a body of knowledge which is available, and they also tells you a particular way or a system in which you can use this body of knowledge. In this framework modeling article, I explained how you can use this concept at a macro level. You can understand any framework if you use that particular principles, whether it's COBIT or any framework, ISO, or any framework for that matter. When we want to audit technology also, I think we need to develop our own framework. For example, if a patient goes to a doctor, if you have general disorder, let's say you had a stomach ache or a headache or this, you go to a doctor, what are the common questions which the doctor will ask? So my doctor will look at, so then in that case I have to answer. I have to define him the problem. Okay, then he'll ask related questions pertaining to that. If the stomach ache, okay, what did you eat? What is that is happening? Then he'll touch different parts of the stomach, and based on that, is it paining? Like that, did you pass loose motions? Like that, he'll ask different questions. Based on that, he's able to come to what is that he's doing? He's collected the data from you and by doing analysis, and he's able to come to a conclusion. Now the question is, can I program the computer also to ask these questions and then give the medicine? We can do that, but the question is, still the medicine cannot touch and diagnose the stomach or this particular thing, and human beings have various things. Okay, based on instinct, they can say, based on experience, they can tell you that, okay, this is a problem. There have been so many problems, like Deepak was saying, incurable or anything like that. Now you are saying managed. When you say managed diabetes, that's what I want, that's what health is all about. What are the type of things? There are millions of bacteria and viruses there. My body has to learn to manage and control them. If they are in control, there is no issue. But what is important, I should learn to manage. So if you look at diabetes or BP or anything for that matter, now is it controlled, is it curable? For me, curable means you are able to manage and keep it in your control. That's what is important. So in technology also, the basic aspect is trust. Okay, can you establish trust in technology? And that's what is the fundamental responsibility of the auditor, to provide assurance. Now if you look at the IS audit, what you have to do, I was talking about the framework. What does IS audit refers to? Now this is a basic thing which I was talking about more than 2 decades back. IS audit refers to any audit that encompasses wholly or partly, which means I can look at the complete environment pertaining to IT, or partly. What is it? What are the 2 key terms there? Review and evaluation. Review, which means you view again. Evaluate, which means evaluate against a particular standard or a benchmark. Review and evaluation of what? Automated information processing systems, related non-automated process, and the interfaces between them. So fundamentally in any IS audit, what is that I'm going to do? I'm going to do review and evaluate. What is that I'm going to review and evaluate? So this is where we have something called controls. What is a control? If you are driving a car, now that might be a, Desire, or it could be a BMW or anything, any car for that matter. What is that fundamentally you are using that car for? to reach a destination. Okay. Does the car have a destination of its own? The car doesn't. You have to define the destination. Okay. So you have a goal, enterprise also has a goal, and using the car as a medium to make that particular journey. In the case of technology also, you should know that you have a particular destination and the technology, you have services to provide, and the technology should be able to provide that. Correct? You are using technology to provide that. For example, the way Amazon is able to sell, do you think if automation is not there, Amazon can exist in any physical platform? It will not be possible. Okay. So it is technology is actually factored in this particular type of services and provide that service. So what is important in that case is there have to be control. What is control? What does control refer to? Control refers to, they say, the policies, procedures, practices, and the organization structure that are designed. Look at the key terms: policies, procedures, practices, and organization structure. Which means, depending on the organization structure, you should have policies, procedures, practices, and the organization structure that are designed. They are not available by default. So, if you have a car, that you should control the car, it is designed that you have brake, you have a steering, you have gear, all these things are there. That is designed in advance. That are designed to ensure what business objectives are achieved and undesirable events are prevented. First is prevent or detected and corrected. This is what control is all about. Let's take this control and apply to third-party risk management. What is happening in third-party risk management? You are outsourcing to a particular party. For example, let's say accounting, I am giving to a particular party. Or most of our CS, we are also doing outsourcing. What the client is supposed to do, we are doing that job. Okay. So if you are doing that, what is that we need to have? We need to have policies, which is by the top management, procedures, which is the middle management, and practices, which are the operational management. And depending on the organization structure they have, we should be able to design these particular controls and to ensure that business objectives are achieved and risks are mitigated. This is what is there. Same concept applied to AI. What is that we need? That's why I was asking Deepak these basic questions. What is that we have in AI also? What are the policies? Okay, what are the procedures? What are the practices? What are the type of organization structure you have? And how do you ensure that business goals are achieved? What I want to do, okay, is that achieved? And the risks are mitigated. That's what fundamentally it's all about. Whatever the technology, whatever the concept, this is what I said is the framework. You pick up any audit for that matter, you're doing a penetration testing, you're doing BCP testing, or outsource application control, anything for that matter you look at, you see that it fits into this concept of IS audit and controls. Fundamentally, it's all about controls. How to ensure controls are in place. So if you look at same IS audit is also talked about as a risk management, which means you need to understand the risk and then based on that you should take care. 3 aspects to every risk. What is the basic question you need to ask? What can go wrong? Like I said, so what? It's in the reverse, a negative way. What can go wrong? Suppose the outsource, for example, let's say payroll, I've given to a company. What can go wrong? Okay, then you should be able to mitigate the risk that, okay, wrong processing is done, or the data is misused, or let's say compliance is not taken care of, or the process is not, delivery is not done on time. Like that you can make a risk. And how is that mitigated? How is it ensured? Next, how likely is it to happen? There is a possibility it may happen. Okay. Next, what effect will it have on your business? Suppose you outsource payroll and that guy says my IT system is down or my network is down because of some reason, then you are not able to provide the service. In that case, what happens? Okay, so you should be able to ask the question, what effect will it have on your business? Risk is the possibility that an event will occur and adversely affect achievement of the objectives. You have taken the car out of a garage. What is your objective? Your objective risk management or controls? If you look at from these two paradigms, what do you think is important?
Both.
Which comes first?
Risk management.
Control.
No, risk management and control. Why did you? Okay, let me simplify the question. I took out the car today. My objective is to avoid accidents, or my objective is to reach my destination. What is my fundamental objective?
Destination.
Fundamental objective, reach destination. While reaching the destination, I want to ensure that accidents are avoided and traffic complaints are taken care of. So this what sometimes you look at the technology guys or risk management guys, quite often you make risk management risk very paramount, then you tend to lose the business focus. In the case of COBIT, the framework just talked about, which is available as free download, the beauty is for everything it brings business perspective. So if you're asking IS audit, for example, somebody approaches me for doing an IS audit, you know what the first question I ask? Why do you want IS audit? What is the purpose? What is the benefit? Now there are some people who say, no, I've got a report from RBI. The RBI says we need to have IS audit done. They ask them, are you doing this IS audit just to meet the RBI requirements? Okay, or you want to actually identify what are the risks and threats and based on that improve that. If he says, no, I just want to take care of this RBI, this one, then I say, probably I will not be the right person to do this, because then they are prepared to pay a minimal amount of money only, and then you are taking a big risk. Okay, so it's important that you are very clear about, does the business know why they are using technology, what are the type of risks which are there in the technology. Okay, let's go to the fundamentals. What is risk? So what is the risk all about? So if you look at risk, they say there are three factors: threat, vulnerability, there is an asset, and risk. This is the triangles which they said. So the intersection of this. What is threat all about? What is the threat? There could be an earthquake. There is a threat. There could be a hacker. Okay, who could against this one. All these are threats. What is the vulnerability? Vulnerability is inherent weakness in the information system. Okay, and then you have asset. What is the asset? The data itself becomes an asset. And that's where you need to manage the risk. For example, a bank which was having the data internally, it has now migrated to internet banking. Why did it migrate to internet banking? Because they say the risk if you migrate to internet banking, because anybody can hack the data, but there is a business advantage. So you have risk versus value. Okay, risk versus reward. You have to always balance. So what are the control we bring in there? In the case of internet banking, I have to go to a particular operator and ask him what's the balance, this check is cleared, or what is the particular thing. Same thing information I can get on the internet. What are the control I need to have? One control is I ensure that it's actually it is a secure site. Okay, so I have user ID and password. If I have user ID and password, now somebody can also steal your user ID and password. You can do. Now they also brought in a OTP based on that system. So you try to bring in control in the information system. What is the control I need to have? I need to ensure that if a person, now like this is security, the basic question is the user asks, can I come in? Next question is, where can I go? Third question is, what can I do? You look at any access or security management, these are the fundamental three questions we need to ask. What is that first question? Can I come in? Now if you look at internet banking, you have bank account, you first enter your this one, can I come in? So based on that, you'll be able to know whether you can come in. Where can I go? Based on your account number, it knows that you are operating a savings account. So it will take you to the savings account section. In the savings account section also, you have authorized the bank that you will not do any transaction. You will only seek information, what is my balance like that, which means I cannot do transactions, I can only see. Okay, these are three perspective which has been brought in, which is controls which has been built in for each of the customers. That's what we need to check. So the bank has set up policies which they say this is what we do. As an auditor, we go and check, have you done those, ask questions and say, have you done this? This is what we need to ask. So what is the advantage of internet banking? That I can provide the facility to the customer that he can do transactions from anytime, anywhere. What is the risk? The risk is an hacker can also do that. And that's where you have to bring in the right level of controls, right type of controls is there. This is the foundation, 4 steps to manage risk. So we need to identify what can go wrong, and next we need to assess. Okay, if there is a risk, what I'm going to do? Then we need to have a response and mitigation. Okay, for example, there is a threat of a fire, or there is a threat of a flood, okay, or the threat of hacking. What is the response? How will I mitigate that particular risk? And based on that, I need to ensure that it's not a one-time effort. I monitor this on a regular basis. And these are the 4 basic concepts of any type of risk management. Whatever be the type of assignment you do, these are the 4 steps which are followed. Like recently I attended a webinar of ISACA, and this is what they talked about. So what is the type of risk? If you look at this, increased cyber crime, emerging threats, global spending on cyber security is increasing. Okay, what is the IT risk management old way, and what are the new ways, forward thinking practices we have to bring in. So what are they talking about? Align cyber security with the business goals. This is what this guy is, this is from a company, he was making a presentation. Now this COBIT talked about 20 years back. Business orientation should be what should be there in your controls. Okay, working faster, smarter, and win together. That's what we have to collaborate, look at how we can do this together. Provide actionable insights to board and executives. We have, in this digital world now, we are flooded with data, but starving for information. So what is important is, how can we ensure that we are able to provide the right insights to the management? That's what is important. So this way they say you need to have a life cycle for third party risk management. What is the life cycle? For every process there is a beginning, there is a initiation, performance, and there is an end. So you should be able to perform that. That's what he talks about. There's a series of steps that outline a typical relationship with a third party. If I'm outsourcing to third party, what are the steps I need to have? What is the life cycle for the third party? I'll talk about a little more, some more things about this a little later. This is the last slide before we go for a break. Why do you need third party risk management? Now we find more and more companies are outsourcing, which means they're relying on third party. So in that case, we also need to ensure what can go with third parties, what can go wrong with third parties, and ensure that those things are taken care of. For example, let's say in the case of a data center, okay, the electricity we are getting from one particular source. Okay, in US they say you can actually buy electricity from 2-3 sources and have that as alternate connections. If the failure from one, alternatively the other will take care. Okay, suppose the system fails, you have alternate system, backup system which automatically runs without even recognizing that one system has collapsed. If there is a network failure, automatically there is another type of network we should be able to take care. So you need to monitor and ensure that those type of risks are identified and mitigated. So fundamentally third party risk management is all about, okay, what are the services you are outsourcing to third party? When you are outsourcing to a third party, what are the processes you have in place? So fundamentally it's all about the say people, process and technology. Okay, these are the three things there. Now people can be trained in processes, but technology cannot be used for implementing processes unless you have predefined what is that you are going to perform, how you want to perform. Okay, so in case of technology, you cannot throw technology at a problem and think the problem will be solved. Technology cannot be a problem, it cannot be solved by technology. You need to have processes and people to be aligned with the business goals so that technology is able to achieve the objectives. Fundamentally, IS audit is all about whatever the type of service you provide is fundamentally is all about that. So when somebody comes to a service, you should ask these basic questions. Okay, he wants an IS audit. Okay, what is that you want to achieve? What is business goals? How are you using technology? How can you help them to improve the output or the value from technology? Don't tell him your theory of will do intrusion detection, confidentiality. He is not bothered about that. He is interested in mileage kitna deti hai. Okay, so similarly when you are asking for business, you should only ask this. Now technology questions also, now if you see it goes to the board, some proposal goes this one, they only look at, okay, what is the value, what are 3 vendors, so isko kam kar sakte hain, they are only looking at this particular thing, they are not looking at everything. And that's where you find the IT auditor can come in and help the enterprise to achieve business goals by managing the risk. A sculptor was asked, what is the secret of success? How is he able to carve such beautiful statues? He says that there is no secret. When I see a piece of stone, I see the statue inside, but others are not able to see. So what do? I bring the statue to my place, stone to my place, use my tools and implement, and remove the unwanted parts, and then the statue emerges from the stone. Now my question is, you can go for lunch if you answer this correctly. My question is, where was the statue? Was it in stone? Was it somewhere else?
In his mind.
Yeah, it was in his mind. Okay, which means they say creation happens twice. First in the mind and second outside. The sculptor knew what is that he wanted to carve, and then he is able to remove the unwanted parts. So if you compare this analogy and bring it to IS audit, the business wants to achieve certain goals. So you should be clear what are the risks. So these unwanted parts are like the risk. So you should be able to look at what are the risks and then be able to tell them, okay, this is the best way to carve that particular statue. You are not going to carve the statue for them, but you are going to look at the process they use for carving the statue and tell them, okay, these are the places it is wrong. For example, yesterday we went to Mother's Wax Museum and we had this one. I said, who is it? Then it says Sachin Tendulkar. It doesn't look like Sachin Tendulkar. I went to London also and seen the wax museum. Then I found, no, so many personalities I found. See, some of the common we know, but some of these is Ganguly. Ganguly is such a signal. It looks like only 60-70% is there. Okay. So quite often they have not taken care of the basic thing. Okay. So I have to read the nameplate, then he's got Tendulkar. It should not happen that way. So when you're using technology also, I think it's very, very important that you should be clear about what technology can deliver, and IT auditor, we should be able to ensure that the technology is able to deliver value. That is the core message I wanted to give in the first part of the presentation. Any questions? I promise this will be like a T20. I'd like to see that it's like a T20. Is it this one? Is it clear? Yes. Because I just want to take some key ideas and concepts which you can immediately apply.
CA Abdul Rafeq sir, with his amazing personality and knowledge, and since we have had a heartful lunch, can we have a heartfelt round of applause for sir again?
Before we get started, I thought I'll show you one or two videos which will convey a message, because sometimes I found the videos give a message which you can remember for a longer time. I'll just play the video, then I want to tell me what is the message. Okay, sorry, we tend to make some basic mistakes sometimes. So you have the traditional way, you can continue doing your traditional fishing in the traditional way, or you can find new ways. In technology, another important lesson is, when our organizations tend to implement technology, they try to understand the current or the existing processes and systems, and then try to automate, which will be not automation, it will be mechanization. Because what you're doing manually, you're trying to do through the computer. What you should also look at is, okay, what is that you want to achieve? And based on that, you should be able to use computers to be able to achieve or develop the solution in that particular way. I'll show one more. You have writing pad with you?
Yes.
Yeah, so okay. We'll teach you a new skill if you don't know.
Hi.
Just follow.
One question for you. How many people here would say they can draw? Well, I think we've got about one.
No, he's asking how many of you can
going up. And it's interesting,
draw.
It's a little bit like people think of spelling or singing. They think, well, you can either do it or you can't.
Just follow what he's showing.
I think it's more to do with beliefs rather than talent. So I think when you say you can't draw, it's just I'd like to prove that. And when I say draw, I'm not saying we're all going to draw like Michelangelo. We're not going to be paint-specific chaps and ceilings. Would you be happy if, by the end of this session, you could draw pictures? A bit like this. Or even, a bit like this. Well, actually, there's only two things you need to do to be able to achieve this. One is have an open mind. You up for that? And two, just be prepared to have a go. So grab a pen and
showing you how you can draw this. He teaches a one-day course in which he shows you how to paint. Okay, just follow this. After that, I'll ask you to draw. Then you can do it.
So here's how it's going to work. I'll show you the first cartoon we're going to do.
I just follow this.
Watch to begin with.
It's okay.
Here we go. Just watch.
Found the figures.
That's going to be our first cartoon. It's a character called Spike. So I'd like you to draw along with me.
Okay, so now he has drawn this one figure.
You draw, and when
What he showed you now.
And I know you're ready for the next one.
If I ask you to draw based on this, you'll find that you will not be able to do it. Unless you're an expert.
That's going to be our first cartoon.
Okay, now the challenge is next 2-3 minutes you'll learn how to do this.
Draw along with me.
Okay,
So
just
after the
follow.
line,
First one you
draw,
see,
and when you've done that,
next
you're
you follow.
done, And I know you're ready for the next line. Okay. Here we go. Start with the nose.
Okay, you can draw down.
Now, the eyes.
You can draw the eyes like this.
66s or speech marks. Next, the mouth. Nice big smile. Now, over here, the ear.
You can draw the ear.
Some spiky hair. Next, put the pen to the left of the mouth. Little line like that. Pen under the ear. Drop a line like that. Pen to the left of the neck. Top of the t-shirt. Line to the left. Line to the right. Just hold. Hi, I've got a question for you. So I think when you say you can't draw. And when I
So
say
you are able to follow this?
Yes.
So how is the painting? Can you just show? How is your drawing?
By the end
Yeah,
of
not
it,
bad.
you can draw pictures.
Huh? Not bad. Okay.
Well,
Good.
actually, there's a-
So we'll do one thing. We'll do one more.
I'll show you the
Then I'll
first
tell you what is the
concept.
message. Then you can tell me what
Just
is the
watch
message.
to begin with.
Just follow this.
Here we go. Just watching.
Once you do 3-4 times, you find that you can do it
That's going to be
automatically. This one.
It's a character called Spike. So I'd like you to draw along with me. So I'll draw the first line, you draw, and when you've done that, look up, and I know you're ready for the next line. Okay. Here we go. Start with the nose.
Okay. First the nose.
Now, the eyes. They're like 66s or speech marks. Next, the mouth. Nice big smile. Now, over here, the ear. Next, some spiky hair. Next, put the pen to the left of the mouth. A little line like that. Pen under the ear. Drop a line like that. Pen to the left of the neck. Top of the t-shirt. Line to the left. Line to the right. Just hold your drawings up and show everybody. How are we all doing? Okay.
So we'll
Draw
just do
one cartoon, but you've actually learned more than that. It is. Draw along with me.
Now just follow this. This is another one.
Smile. That's it. Now some hair. Pen to the left of the mouth. Under the hair. Little V shape at the top. Line to the left. Line to the right. So we've got another character. Let's call her
Okay.
Thelma.
Right. You can see it's available on YouTube how to what is that? Why people believe they can't draw. That's the name. You can see it on YouTube. It's a 6-minute video. We'll show you different types of painting. Okay, and you find that I'm bad in handwriting also, and I'm surprised I could draw beautiful different cartoons like the way he did it. Now I just want you to tell me what is the message I want to give in this. What is that which I want to convey through this video? Yeah.
Breaking things into smaller and simpler.
Okay, good. So that is first is break down into components. Okay, what is the next step?
Second is he's telling this is the nose, this is the eye. So you set the context what you are doing it.
Okay,
And why
good.
you are doing it.
Okay, good. Then
Perfect guidance.
guidance. Okay, guidance in what?
So when you have potential, only you need the training.
No,
No,
the
and
one
he's
important thing.
repeating that so that it becomes a habit. The process
Okay,
becomes
good.
a
There's one
habit.
more important thing I want to tell you.
Standardization.
Huh?
Standardization. His eyes
Yeah.
were exactly 6'6". His nose was
Yeah.
triangular
So,
version.
right, there is a standardization. There's one more thing.
Something in mind. What is coming?
Okay, so there is an idea what he wants to convey based on that he's drawing. So you find he actually does about 5-6 cartoons. Okay, so but there's one important thing which I want to
Nothing is important.
No, that is generic.
Follow the instructions.
Ah, yes. Most important is process, step by step. Okay, first you draw the nose, then you draw this like that. There's a particular process you follow, and there's a particular standardization. Once you do that, you find there are about 10 types of cartoons he draws. and then you do it 3-4 times, you find that you can do it because you already have standardized that. So in IT audit or in any organization you have to implement, you ensure that there is a standardized step-by-step process. We call it a systematic approach, and then you ensure everybody is trained and then follow that. Then you will be able to get standard results. So in IT audit also, whatever the type of audit, I think that's what is important. You need to have a standard approach and step-by-step how you're going to do that. Okay, I think many of you had soup. There's one interesting story I remember. I just want to convey a message about the story. It said once in a big company, they're not able to decide between the two vice presidents who could be promoted as president. So they did multiple levels of interview and still they're not able to decide. The HR, the past president, everybody, they couldn't decide. And then they decided to ask the chairman, okay, who's the senior person, sir, we are at this dilemma, can you help us? So the chairman came, he said, no problem, I'll just take them out for lunch, you tell me, I'll interview them, then I'll give you my decision. Okay. He took them out for lunch. After lunch he came back and he told them, I think you appoint this Mr. X. And the HR guys and the president, everybody said, sir, how you are able to decide just over a period of lunch, not even 1 hour? We have spent so many hours doing multiple rounds of interview. We are not able to decide, but you are able to decide in just by lunch. He said, no, it's very simple. I had to just observe. Based on the observation, I know who is the right candidate among the two of them. Although in most of the experience, caliber, everything, both are same. But there's one important thing we need for the job. And this Mr. X has it. And sir, how we are not able to find, how you are able to find? He said, very simple. I ordered for soup. When the soup came in, Mr. X, Y, let's say X and Y put salt and pepper and took the soup. Mr. X first tasted the soup, then he put salt and pepper. Both of them put salt and pepper. But when did they do it? So he said, when I'm appointing somebody as president, I do not want him to operate from his past knowledge experience only, where knowledge becomes a baggage. I want him to look at the data and then come to a decision. Now the second guy tasted the soup. He did not go by the pre-bias, no, that this is like this soup is always, they don't put enough salt, pepper, and he didn't put. He said he took the decision based on the facts. So I want my president to decide based on the facts, and that's why he said X is the right person. So in IT audit also, or anything for that matter, I think we don't go by what the management says. We look at what the management has done, which is actually proven by the documents and the records. We don't just go by what they say. Okay, let's just look at quickly, I'll run through this one. Why do you need for third-party risk management? We already discussed this. If you look at a contractual relation, this is what I said, you need to put things in a structured way. So you find, okay, there's a particular setup, there's a contract, operations and transition out. These are the 4 key steps, and there are multiple things which have to be done. Similarly, you also have to assign the responsibilities in terms of each level layer of management. What are they accountable for? What are they responsible for? And who should be consulted? Okay.
This will be for the vendor side.
This will be stakeholders' responsibilities within the enterprise.
Within the enterprise.
We can also ask for the vendor. Okay, within the vendor, in the organization, how is he managing this process? We can also use the same. Okay, way of performing. So we know managing third-party risk is a risk. You have to take care of this. These are the types of risks which would be there. The volume of data, type of data access, location with the service is there. So there could be different impact of risk due to different factors. Now what are the important things which have to be there when you look at SLA? This is the most important thing which is looked at a third party risk management. What are the terms and whether terms are clear? Okay, these are broad areas we looked at. And if you look at the TPM life cycle which we talked about, this is the life cycle or the step by step. So first we have identification, screening. Who are the third-party vendors whom you're going to deal with? How you're going to onboard them? Evaluation and selection. You do risk assessment, and then based on that you do a risk mitigation. Then you do the contracting and procurement from them, and then you have reporting and record keeping to ensure that the services are delivered as per the requirement. And then you also have an ongoing monitoring system. And then you may also do third-party onboarding, or you may also transition it out, which means you should be also take care that if you are moving to a different vendor, you should still be able to take care of the services which is to provide it. Now the important thing, especially outsourcing, has become an important dependency for most of the large organizations. For example, banks, the network they're providing, they don't know none of them have their own network. They are providing on it, they're depending on a vendor. So RBI has come out with a document on this guidelines for outsourcing. Okay, so what is important is when they say multiple regulatory requirements, for example, let's say there are healthcare industry, they got something called HIPAA. Like that, multiple industries have got multiple regulations. What is important is we need to have a framework. Okay, what is the standard way of doing things? Okay, based on that, you need to understand what are the type of risks which can happen for different type of entities at different stages, and based on that, you should be able to do the assessment. Evaluate third-party compliance reports. You can also get, in the case of third-party, in fact, in the case of USA, we have something called the SOC 2 reports, and this is done extensively, which means any vendor before onboarding, they ask him to get a SOC 2 report done. You can also have penetration testing done, because many of the cases, for example, let's say banking companies, when they want to procure a software, they'll also say, okay, can you get a penetration testing done of your environment to check how secure you are. So you also have third-party audits which can be done. Now, what is important to report is when you look at compliance reports, many of the software companies also have a policy before even pre-evaluation, which means they evaluate the software, they ask the party to ensure that this is actually audited by a third-party independent IT auditor. So we should be very clear about what is the scope of the particular audit. Okay, for example, it's a data center. Okay, what the type of report is required? For example, if you look at a SOC 2 report, there's nothing like, no, this is my way of doing things. So the auditor says you have to do it in this way, you have to do it. You have to ensure compliance. Okay, otherwise there will be qualification. Okay, let's look at audit itself. So these are the broad steps. I said you look at the structured approach. Any audit for that matter, you find these will be the broad steps. Let's apply the same thing to AI in the context of AI, and let's do it. See it. Okay. Obtain understanding of the environment by interviewing and reviewing relevant documents. Okay, what is that you want to do? Why you want to do it? Okay, next. This one, test specific areas. Now, assess the role and risk associated with outsourcing through specific service providers. This pertains to service. This one, outsourcing. This is what you look at. Test specific areas relevant for educate appropriate controls. Identify and report on areas of control weaknesses. So, if you apply the same thing in AI, can you tell me what will be the 4 steps? The first step will be
Policies.
Identify where you are going to apply AI. What are the reasons you want to apply, and then based on that you decide. Okay, this is the scope for that particular assignment. Okay, next, if you look at AI, how is AI developed? This through machine learning, like supervised learning, unsupervised learning. What is the data used for training? Okay, how do they come to a conclusion, and what is the integrity of the particular software which has been developed? You look at that, and then based on that you test. Okay, giving different types of scenarios. Like morning I said, if there is an accident, if there is a particular failure of the particular vehicle, okay, if there is an accident, what are the principles which actually govern this? So you look at it. In fact, I told you in the morning also, ISACA has come out with 2 publications pertaining to machine learning, which explains the same concept in a very, very simple way. Okay, so if you're auditing AI or you have to audit AI for clients, you can use the document. And the first step in most every case, when you do IS audit, what is that you're interested in? Identify the control weakness, which means what are the areas of improvement, and provide recommendations for mitigation. This is what you want to, this is the bottom line. Now there are some cases auditors, especially if you are a, let's say auditor from the ISO, they say no, auditor is not supposed to provide recommendations. Okay, as an IT auditor you should know, or an IS auditor, we are not an ISO auditor who is supposed to do an independent evaluation. Okay, in IS audit, your report is useless unless you provide appropriate recommendations. That has to be there. Audit procedures, this gives you a detailed step of audit procedures which you need to follow. There are also guidelines issued by ISACA which tells you, okay, if you're auditing outsourcing, what are the things you have to review? So a lot of information is available ready-made for third-party risk management. This talks about general principles. There's also a document called Audit Oversight for Onboarding Vendors, which is available on ISACA's website. Interestingly, many of the companies are outsourced. You find they also use, especially for cloud computing, they use Microsoft Azure. ISACA has come out with an audit program for Microsoft Azure itself. Okay, if you're auditing Microsoft Azure, or your client is actually using Microsoft Azure, what are the aspects they have to look at? Okay, they explain in detail. They have actually given for each of the areas the step by step. I'll show you that Excel document also, and this is available for free download. Why? This gives you the basic concepts. If you look at life cycle but into TPRM, this is what you should be looking at. This gives you analysis in terms of dashboard, the reports you need to have when you do a risk assessment for third party risk management. What are the benefits of risk management approach? So when you look at third party, you need to ensure that there's a single repository and then achieve the accountability and ownership. Then also ensure build trust by using the RACI model. This gives you some more steps. I'll share the presentation with you with ISACA. Okay, these are the next steps which you talked about. So what does it talk about the recommendations? Implement a holistic third-party risk management covering the entire life cycle, which means you should look at all the steps for the TPRM and ensure that you are auditing each of these areas. Extend the third-party coverage to include various types of third parties. And extend the risk domain to cover different types of risk the TPA brings in. Because when you are allowing a third party to enter into your data domain, there are new types of risks. So you should evaluate that, then ensure that proper controls are there. Work on assessment approach and tweak it to make it commensurate to the risk TPA, which means you need to assess what is the type of risk, look at what are the type of controls and give your recommendations. And also ensure that all the identified issues are mitigated. And in case the third party, he has got one more party, which is called as the fourth party, some cases you may also have to look at that also. You also need to consider the common requirement from different regulations. Okay, so before I go to the question, I just want to show you the docs before you go further. If you look at the Excel file, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, so this is the Excel document which is available as a download. It's an Excel file, okay, which means you can readily use it. Okay, now they talk about different areas. Now first they give you the first worksheet, they give you the instructions. Now if you look at the instructions, these are the broad areas, what is to be done for each of this. Okay, and then they also give you for each of the areas, for example, let's say governance. Okay, what are the process area, what are the reference risk, what are the control objective, what are the controls, control type, and most important, what are the steps you need to follow for testing. So this is a ready-made program which is available on ISACA's website, which you can download as a member free of cost. Similarly, they look at network configuration management. Like that, they have got different areas for which they have got the step-by-step instructions.
Starting route to 1 Ramchand Mukherjee Lane, Jatindas Park.
So,
You can ask
is this vendor specific? I mean, we saw that
No.
for Azure, can we use it for
Yeah.
Google and Amazon?
Yes,
It is
you can use it. Yeah, you just have to tweak it to some extent. Most of the cases, what Azure provides, same thing is provided by other vendors also. You can tweak it and use it. Okay, now let's go to the next topic. Yeah, before we go to the next topic, I think I have about 30 minutes. Yeah. Any questions on this?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On this TPRM, when we work with process-heavy organizations like enterprise organizations, they have set their own processes like this is our threshold, and we identify that the vendors or the partners who matches our with the policy.
Okay.
What happens is, we onboard them and they outsource it again and then again. And at a point it becomes extremely difficult that unless there is an incident, that's actually a big threat or a big vulnerability, we can say.
Okay.
How do we mitigate? I mean, how do we kind of...
The simple fact is, as a part of the SLA, you should be clear about the terms which are there. For example, let's say the banks appoint you chartered accountant as the concurrent auditors. In the case of concurrent auditors, when in the appointment itself, they clearly specify that this particular assignment cannot be outsourced. It has to be done internally only. So in your agreement, depending on the criticality of the particular process, you need to decide what can be outsourced, what cannot be outsourced. If, as per the terms, if you have specified this can be outsourced, in that case, if you left it open, then there is this risk which you're taking care. Then you have to look at the criticality and then decide, okay, finally it's the vendor's responsibility, the TPS responsibility. But if you're depending on other parties and that is going to impact you, the criticality for you is much more. Then in that case you have to decide what is going to be done by the TPA, which cannot be outsourced. You can specify in the agreement. That becomes a critical part of the agreement.
Yeah.
If it's not adhered to, it will be done, and if it's outsourced, it will be the contract will be terminated.
I mean, like,
Okay.
you're aware of this SLA thing, SLA as a tool to use that?
Yeah, SLA is an important thing which has to be done. In fact, one of the things which is there in SLA is, in fact, I'll be covering this a little more detail when you come to the cloud sourcing. One of the important things which is covered is what are the terms which are there in the SLA, and one of the important things is whether the vendor can get an external audit done. For example, let's say Standard Chartered Bank had outsourced a particular payroll processing to one BPO company. We are doing the audit of the particular company, and the Standard Chartered Bank appointed PwC to audit the particular vendor and give a report as to how strong the controls were there as relevant to the PwC contract which they entered. Okay, so you can specify that. That has to be specified as a part of the contract. And if you are a significant contributor in terms of revenue to that particular company, they'll definitely agree. It's a part of the agreement.
It's a right to audit clause.
Yeah.
What I was trying to focus is, I mean, at times we find that it's easier said than done. But with processes like, with BCP comes, once in a while. COVID hit, we were all actually lost. On those factors, it's very difficult to kind of have a total holistic view of how everything is operating.
I agree.
And
Most of the cases,
HR. I mean, outsourcing manpower. He outsource and then he outsource and then he outsource. There is a.
See, the basic principle is there is a process you want to perform. The process got a deliverable, and you want to ensure that they are in control. They are in your control or the vendor's control. You know that you are in control, or you know the vendor is in control, and you are monitoring that. So this is the basic principle which has to be taken care of. So if you build that, then you will see that the vendor will have to carry this. So if it doesn't agree, then you find another vendor who will agree. Okay, you're asking.
That means the audit requirement we were talking about, that will be in the right to audit clause.
Yes.
But I have got a question. Suppose I'm in Standard Chartered and I have outsourced a part to one company and I'm appointing a third-party auditor.
Yeah.
Now when third-party auditor audits that company, they found there is another auditor or another fourth party supporting that third party. So what will they do? So
in that case, it depends on the agreement. It depends on the clauses in the agreement. With the auditor, with this vendor, with this particular company, you are Standard Bank, you have entered the agreement with the vendor and you ask PwC to do the audit. Okay. Now when they do the audit, they find that the data center has been outsourced. In that case, they can audit that particular this one also to the extent required. Not a full-fledged this one, to the extent required they can do. Otherwise, you will have an endless cycle. There is no end to that. So you should have a particular place where you can do that. Okay, let's go to this cloud computing. I'm going to quickly run through this. These are the broad areas I'm going to look at. Cloud computing, the what and the why. We look at how cloud computing is done. Some of these are basic concepts. I'm going to quickly run through them. And then focus on the security and the audit. These are the basic concepts of cloud computing. Most of us are using. Whether we are aware or not, we are all in the cloud. These are the cloud services. These are the key definitions, especially from the audit point of view. You need to know who has got access to the cloud, the data in the cloud, and who can operate this. And these are the cloud participants. These are the fundamentals of cloud. Why are you going for the cloud? There is an on-demand self-service. There is a broad network access. You can pool the resources. There is a rapid elasticity. Depending on the need, you can scale up or scale down. And there is a measured service for which you pay, based on which you pay. This gives you a snapshot of cloud computing. So you have software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. So the basic thing is only infrastructure is provided, then you install the software which is required as per the platform, and then you install the software. In the platform as a service, they give you the platform itself. Okay. For example, you want it with Windows, they will give you with this one. Second, now you want Tally also on the cloud. They'll give it Tally on the cloud. Then with Tally on the cloud, it becomes software as a service. So not only giving the infrastructure I can also buy a virtual desktop or virtual computer. In that case, they'll just give me the space, the infrastructure. I can load my OS and then I can load the software. Okay, these are the three ways you can get in: public, private, or hybrid. And from the audit point of view, what is most important is we need to provide trust. For trust, we need to start right at the top, which is the governance, and then look at identity, and then we have aspects pertaining to authentication, okay, and then authorization and the authority. Now this gives you the cloud deployment models. Which one of them is have the highest risk? Or if you pick the two, private and public. Private has a lower risk compared to public.
One thing I would like to ask you, that still the government, Indian government, they feel that their data is not safe when they are keeping it in clouds in India. That is, the server has to be in India. Why is it? You must have faced it also. Probably.
See, the basic concept is wherever you keep, in whatever you keep the data is never 100% absolutely safe. It may be already there in China and so many other countries. In that they can do it for various, they can use it for various types of manipulation. For example, let's say Facebook. They say probably they used it for manipulation of the elections. So that can happen. So that's why they say at least keep the data in India to take care of the security requirements. Because the data is in India, then you can also ensure that the information is
a real threat.
See, one thing is, like they say, the ship is safest in the harbor, but that's not where it's supposed to be. Now, when the ship sails, is there a risk? There is always a risk. So there is always, if you want to make progress, we have to take risks.
Very good.
But we have to ensure that the risks are monitored. If you have not taken the risk, our ancestors have not taken the risk, would have been still living in the forest. So risk is something which we have to take. But what is important is we need to take, like they say, calculated risk. Have we evaluated the risk and taken the decision, or we blindly taken the risk? Yeah, the only problem in India is chalta had to do it, that becomes a problem. So it's always important that we evaluate and come to a decision. Okay, this is the cloud story. They say, if you look at the basic concept, you had the servers for each of the departments or units. In this case, you have a common server, which is outsourced, and all the department can access the information. So there it becomes cost effective. Now if you look at this one slide explains the whole concept about cloud computing. What can users do with cloud computing? Now this explains one by one. So users can remotely store the data on the cloud and they can access anytime, anywhere. And using a shared pool of resources, data outsourcing, users are released from the burden of maintaining the particular data, because everything is managed by the vendor. Okay. So you have basic concepts, and then if you look at the concept here, you got a common data repository, and the users can access this from anywhere in the cloud. There are some experts who have commented on the YouTube, what will happen if the rain falls in the cloud, all those things. You should know that the cloud doesn't have any, is a concept. It doesn't have to do anything with the rainfall. In fact, there's one famous IAS officer who has given videos also on what will happen in cloud mein kya hoga, barish aa gaya to kya hoga data ka, wo kya bhig jayega. He has given a lot of videos on that. So it's important that you should know what, that will, like, remember, you should know what technology can do, what it cannot do, and how it works, and what are the risks pertaining to that. These are the 6 core questions about the cloud. Okay, when you are going to the cloud, these are some decisions you have to take. So fundamentally, it's about the service which is being outsourced at a cost. Okay, and it comes with associated risks. Okay, are you going to benefit from that? So if so, you go ahead and do that. Okay, why cloud computing? What are the benefits? Now let's look at the how. First, you should important that cloud computing is an ecosystem. Okay, he is not doing cloud, he is not doing specifically for you. If he is doing specifically for you, then it becomes a private cloud. Okay. So there is the organization, there is the technology, and there is the process which is there, the skills involved. You need to look at who is managing all this. So you need to look at the cloud as an ecosystem. Now if you look at traditional IT, the basic concept, you had one CPU which was used for 1,000 hours. Here you have 1,000 CPUs you can use for 1 hour. Okay, so you have these various concepts, location dependent, accessible everywhere. Now here what happens in the case of traditional IT is, every investment in IT becomes a capital expenditure, whereas in the case of outsourcing it becomes operational expenditure. these are the broad areas you need to consider. You need to ask questions pertaining to each of these areas. Okay, what are the business process we are outsourcing? What are the different workloads? For example, let's say in case of payroll outsourcing for the company, I found they receive the data from, let's say, from 27 to 24th of the month. Okay, they get the payroll data. They process within 2-3 days, and then they have to ensure that the salary, everything is paid on the last day of the month. Okay, now for them the critical period is, okay, this 21st to 31st. Okay, initially between the particular, this one initially 28 to this one, 1st to 21st, they may not have much criticality, but the most critical processing time becomes from 21st to 31st. Now, if there is a disruption of IT at that time, that becomes very, very critical. So this is the impact, the general concept. How to migrate to the cloud? You need to consider what is the current IT environment in deciding what is the right cloud strategy. So based on that, you decide what is the type of cloud service is required by you. For example, let's say some of the CAs say that I want Tally on the cloud. Now, if you want Tally on the cloud also, they have different types of solutions. So you should know what is the type of solution you want to have. Some of them implement Tally in such a way that they've got a virtual desktop. The primary objective is my staff, they may be sitting anywhere, they should be able to access the Tally data and do the audit or update the accounts. If that is the case, that is the goal. Now, how do you want to achieve it? You can buy a virtual server, you can load the OS you want, you can also load Tally, and you can create the users, which means instead of physical server which is there in your office, that is a virtual server which is sitting somewhere. And all the staff, you create the user IDs, you have the access control so they can access. Or if you take it as a software as a service, there is a vendor who creates all this particular environment, he charges you particular money, he gives you the user IDs depending on what you want, and you pay him for usage. If you look at other type of service, for example, there is a software called Zoho, where you don't need to buy the software or anything, you just log in, per user you pay a particular amount of money, and you can maintain the accounts online. So you need to decide what is the right environment for you. Some of them say, for me security is paramount, I can't think of going for a solution like Zoho. Okay, some of them still more paranoid, they say no, I don't want the dependence on the third party vendor for the Tally data. I would like to have only the service, I will have access to the data, everything on my own. Now if you look at security, now what you need to look at is, there are risks at each of the layers. Each type of service has different types of risk. For example, if you look at platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, or software as a service, each of them have their own risks. In the case of software as a service, what is the risk? If you're taking the service from the vendor, which means the data could be accessible by the vendor. Okay, you depend on the vendor for that itself. This gives you the vulnerabilities. It's not only you are the only customer for the vendor, there could be multiple vendors. In that case, how do you take care of this? There are also compliance which have to be taken care of. First is you start with all the governance. Okay, from the governance point of view, what is the distinction between governance and management? Because this is a basic thing, I think people tend to get confused.
Governance is the regulations.
No, I'm not talking the government point, from the enterprise point of view, what is the distinction between governance and management?
Governance will give the policies.
Management should achieve the governance. So
Okay.
governance
So
is
who does
something
the
what you
who
should-
does the governance?
Management is responsible
Governance
for the
is done by
governance.
management.
No.
Or
Governance
the-
is done by the board of directors.
by the owners.
Board of directors, and the management is supposed to execute that. Okay, so the governance is the direction laying body. It's like the captain of the ship. Okay, this is the destination we're taking, and all the guys in the ship who are working will actually work towards ensuring the ship is moved in the right direction. So when you're looking at each of the places, what I'm saying is you need to start right at the top. You can get different perspectives from different angles. For example, I had gone to Niagara Falls a few years back. Now, first time I went, I saw it from the, what do you call that? From the outside, this one, gallery like that, you're standing. Okay, so you have some feel of the water, everything. Second time you saw from a restaurant. Third time you saw from a tower. Fourth time I went to the helicopter ride. Okay. Fifth time I went with the boat near the water. Now each of them has its own risk, gives a different perspective. Okay, so you should look at, for example, if I'm looking at from flying the helicopter, What are the type of this one governance perspective I get?
What's it?
I get to know where it originates, how does it flow, everything can get. Here I can only get, when I go right near the water, what is that? I can get what is the depth of the water, how much this one is there. Okay, so each of them has their own risk. So when you're doing audit also, you should decide, not only there is a horizontal exposure, there is also a vertical expertise which is required. Now these are some of the cloud challenges, computing challenges we need to consider. These are some of the principles. This I told you we'll talk about some of the questions. These are some of the questions you have to ask the vendor. Okay, what kind of data will be in the cloud? Where do the data subjects reside? Where will the data be stored? How is the data secured? How is the data? Where are the servers? Will the data be transferred to other locations? Okay, when will the data be commingled? So like that you have a series of questions we should ask the vendor. What is the cloud relationship? Who will be actually storing, processing or transmitting the customer data? Does the cloud provider have rights in its subcontracts to permit compliance with the customer's contracts? Like that you have different aspects pertaining to your requirements which you get assessed yourself or with the clients. Now here there is one more list of key questions to consider for risk assessment in the cloud. It starts with what is the expected availability? What is the performance? Okay, or what is the downtime which you can accept? How are identity and access managed in the cloud? Where will the enterprise data be stored? Like that you have a series of questions which you ask the vendor. Based on that you take a decision. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable. In case of some of the standard vendors, they may have standard conditions. This is what we do and this we cannot do. But in the case many of the vendors, if you say I want specific thing, they will be able to do. But at what? For everything they say we have a cost. For example, we are doing audit of one foreign company, application audit and the IT general controls audit. And what they had was, they had a particular location, physical location, where all the employees were hired by the particular company. They were sitting there and they are accessing the server which is based in US. Okay, all these employees have a separate access controls. Physically they are located in the particular place. The backup, everything is done in the server, which is available in Trustly. Now, for example, I had done audit for Infosys. In some places, when we went to the Infosys location, they said, no, this you are not permitted, you cannot go. We are doing the audit of their banking software. Then they said, no, this is a separate location for our, let's say, Standard Chartered Bank customers. And they have demanded the security in this particular way. Then I said, why are you giving special security? He said, no, whoever is able to pay for us, we'll give whatever security they want, as long as they're willing to pay the cost. So you should know what is the type of security you want, what is the risk for that, what is security you want, and what is the amount you're going to willing to pay for this.
Now I want to take this example. Suppose you're auditing Infosys and they have got certain partners who want their security spot separately. Now, if you are going to audit Infosys, whether you will not be able to audit those security spots as an organization.
Yeah, we can see it all depends on what is specified in the contract. For example, when we are doing the application, we are doing the audit of the application software. At that time it was called Finacle. Now it's called at that time it was called Bank 2000, and now it's called Finacle. Okay, when we did the audit, one of the conditions we put in the particular condition is we are not only they created a test environment for us, where we created every type of department with different types of access levels, and we tested some sample data of one of the banks. Okay. We also put in a condition, we would like to visit two banks, okay, where physically the software is installed, and we would like to test how it's actually done in a physical environment. So they got permission from the particular banks, one private bank and one government bank, and we were able to visit that particular district, although we had no relationship with that particular bank. These Infosys are in that. So it's possible, depends on what the contract you have with the vendor. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get you.
Depends on the scope you have. And
yeah, correct. Yeah. So this gives you the cloud computing. This I think this answers the question we asked earlier. Now, if you look at audit, cloud computing audit, so you should remember for every new technology, is it a problem or an opportunity for the auditors? It's an opportunity. Same thing for the enterprise. Every new technology is an opportunity to provide better service. And every new technology is an opportunity for the auditor to provide service on how they can implement. But what is the requirement for that? First, the auditor should be trained in that, and then they should be able to explain to the management what the value they bring to the table. Now there is again chicken policy here. Most of the cases now they say, how do I get the clients? Now the clients demand the experience. Which should come first? How do you get experience? How do you get the clients? What is the solution for that?
You need to have a team with mixed.
You
need to have a team which has a mixed kind of thing.
No, correct. No, I'm talking. See, somebody who has done CISA or they did a forensic audit course for CA Institute like that. They have done the course. Then they say, where is the opportunity? Or when they look at the opportunity, they say, you should have got experience. How do they get the experience? So the simple solution for that, I say, first get the experience even at a cost, which means you have existing clients. Pick up that particular clients and do that as a part of your regular audit. You're doing a company audit or regular audit for that one. Do that as an experiment, because that client is already your client for so many years. You are getting that internal audit or company audit. Do all the experimentation there. Okay, and tell him that I'm going to do the assignment, maybe free of cost or a nominal cost. Do that, get the experience, and then you can apply it to the other clients. Just like they say, once a young boy was sitting near a mountain, he wanted to cross the mountain, and it was sunny, and he was wondering how will he cross at this time of the day. After some time, he found an old man happily singing and climbing down. And this young man went to him and asked him, "Sir, I am thinking how to cross the mountain, but you seem to be happily crossed at your age and come back." He said, "Gentleman, young man, it's very simple. Send the mind first, the body will follow." So in IT audit also, I think very important that we need to send our mind first. This is the expertise I want. This is the area I want to work on. Get the expertise. There is knowledge in abundance now. Just look at ISACA, the knowledge repository there. There's tremendous amount of this knowledge available. Now invest on that to get the expertise. Okay. Like I always say, there are two types of activities we are busy in. What are the two types of activities? Repairs and maintenance, R&D. If you take a particular all the activities you do right from the day, especially your professional activities, and then put it in these two categories. And look at it, tell me how much percentage of activities is in R&P and R&M. What do you say? Most of the activities are in R&P, repairs and maintenance, because you already done that. It's like one young man went for an interview and he probably said, "Sir, I've got 11 years experience." The interviewer looked at him, smiled and said, "Gentlemen, it's not 11 year experience, 1 year experience repeated 11 times. Okay, now you need to look at, as a professional, what is the type of experience you're getting compared to, let's say, 23, we're coming to the end. Look at 23 and see what is the type of activity you have done. What are the new things you've learned? What are the new clients you've got? How have you worked? Or you're only continuing the past. Okay, what is done in the past, you're just continuing that and maintaining. So most of it is R&D. So if you want to change orbits in your career, what is changing orbits? You're moving in a particular orbit, you want to change orbits. In that case, what you need to do? You need to scale up. You need to invest. Okay. First, this is what I said, in any audit, first thing is you need to understand what is the vision, business vision, what do they want to achieve? Okay, what is the visibility? Okay, what needs to be done? What are the services? Then accountability. And then how to ensure this is sustainable. So this is where you start. Now, for example, let's say practical, I have given this governance checklist which came from one of the ISACA publications. It tells you, okay, if you're doing cloud enterprise risk management topic, okay, what are the specific aspects? Who has to do what? How to review the strategy used for implementing cloud computing? These are some of the questions you can ask. Okay, these are the publications which are available from ISACA. IT control objectives for cloud computing. In fact, CA Institute has also come out with a guideline on cloud computing. And RBI also has got a publication, I think, on cloud computing. Now this gives you the perspective. Okay, for example, if you look at COBIT, for each of the control objective domains or areas, they're given for each of the cloud servicing models, what are the risks which is there? Okay, ensure system security. They break down into the next areas. Manage IT security, what are the risks in each of these areas? Okay, similarly, they give you the reports. Example, what are the steps you need to follow for auditing cloud? Okay, this is a sample audit report for a cloud computing. Interestingly, there is an IS audit assurance program for a cloud computing issued by ISACA, which is also available and ready to use checklist. So what are the key concepts? This is the key ideas I want to convey. So successful cloud implementation requires that enterprise work with legal, security and audit professionals to ensure that the appropriate levels of security and privacy are achieved. So it's not a one-man job or a one-team job. Okay, you need to consider all the departments, all the stakeholders have to be taken into consideration. Now in migrating to the cloud, you should not only look at the cost, okay, you should also look at the risks and the benefits. Based on the potential savings and the risk mitigation strategy, enterprise can make better decisions on what cloud platform to choose and how the services will be offered. One of the interesting statement which I heard from many of the founders of BPO companies, they say when BPO companies were started in India, when they went in for marketing, and they say that they came for cost. Okay, when they initially outsourced, most of the US companies, European companies, they outsourced for cost because there's a cost benefit. But they say they're stuck because of the value. So it's not just the cost, because you give value, then you can actually migrate and ensure that they remain for a longer time. Auditors will always have a role. Now this is the important thing. Whatever be the technology, wherever it is there, auditors will have a role. Why do you think auditors have a role? In any technology implementation, in any enterprise, auditors will have a role to play, provided they are prepared to play. What do you think auditors have a role to play? Does the need for auditor change with technology evolution? Will auditors become redundant? Now we are also talking about AI-based audit. Okay, will they become redundant? What do you say?
No.
No, why?
Because auditors are there to check the process again to achieve that goal through whatever technology.
No, I think even AI is a technology, so AI has its own security inside it, own mathematics inside it.
Professional judgment.
Yeah.
Okay. See, the most important thing is, whatever be the type of process being provided, there has to be an independent review and evaluation. As long as there's a need for review and evaluation, there will always be a need for an audit. Okay, I just want to check 2-3 minutes and show you the documents. Okay, this is the Excel file which I talked about. Oh, I closed it. Yeah, cloud computing audit program. See, this same way which I showed you for Azure. I think they may have for Google also, I'm not sure. You can check. See, they give you the first page, gives you the instructions. Okay. You find everything about ISACA, there is a structure. You remember I showed you the video of the painting? There is a particular structure. There are steps which you can follow. And then if you know how to do it, you can use it for any type of a client. So they give you structure with the instructions, and then they give you the broad areas. You have got governance. Okay, control objective, controls, control type, testing step. What are these questions you need to ask? How do you test?
Is it based on the CCA, Cloud Security Alliance?
See, which one?
CCA?
No, this is from ISACA. This is from ISACA, Information Systems Audit Association. See, another important point, it is not necessary that what is there in ISACA is the ultimate. You can always complement with other checklists and other things which are available from other institutions. For example, NIST has something on cyber security. Use that, complement it. Use it wherever it's required. Okay, similarly, if you look at the PDF files, now this is what I was talking about. See the different publications which I showed you. Okay, now this is now if you look at download the zip file, if you look at Azure Audit Program, it has got two things. One is the Excel file, one is the PDF file. Okay, the Excel file is the one which has the detailed audit programs. Okay, now if you look at the publication cloud, this one security consideration of cloud computing, this is a complete this one which covers everything about cloud computing. Similarly, you have audit oversight for onboarding vendors. This is a publication. Similarly, manage third-party risk. This is a publication. And then you have master direction. This is what I told you about Reserve Bank of India. There's a master directions also available from the Reserve Bank of India. And the beauty is, when I went through the document, I was surprised. The team, generally government organizations, they have appointed a particular committee and done it. What is interesting is this is excellent because they actually picked up from most of the international publications, picked up what is most relevant, and then put it in this particular outsourcing in this document. Okay, so we have spent about 2 hours. I think before I close, I just want to close with 2 stories. It said once a Zen master was taking a walk with a disciple who had joined him recently, and they had to cross a place where there was stagnant water. And the Zen master began picking up his clothes and then walking. At that time, he found a beautiful lady came, and she also had to cross, and she was wearing a white flowing gown, and she also had to cross, and she was hesitant because her clothes and feet would get dirty. The Zen master, a very old man, looked at the lady, understood her predicament, and offered, "Can I carry you?" She agreed. So this old man took the beautiful lady in his arms, crossed the water, and then left her. She said thank you, and he said thank you. They walked back. After 1 hour, they reached the next village, and the Zen master looked at the young disciple's face. This young fellow's face was a picture of fury. The Zen master smiled and asked, "What happened?" The young man said, "How could you do that?" Which means what? When this young disciple had joined, the Zen master had told him that as Zen master, you should not look at ladies, you should avoid all this particular thing. When the opportunity came, this old man forget all about his principles to carry the young lady in his arms. And you know, the Zen master said, "I dropped her near the bridge. Are you still carrying her?" What is the message? The same thing I want to tell about technology. Forget the young man, young lady. Take technology. You should know how to carry technology as required. What is most important is your business principles and values. Use technology as required. Drop it and move forward. Okay. It's like one professor was taking a walk. A very successful businessman came to the professor and said, "Thank you, sir. I owe my success to you. All that I am here is because of you." And this guy said, "No, I have not seen you. I know I have seen your this face in the magazines, but did you study in our college? Did I teach you? Was you a professor?" He said, "No." Then he said, "How do you say that you owe my success to me?" The businessman explained. "So let me just explain. In this particular year, you had come to a convocation, and then you are the one who are giving me the certificates." The professor remembered, "Yes, sir, this particular university." He said, "Yes, sir, you remember you had come to the university and gave me the certificate, and you patted me in the back and gave me some advice personally for me, and I implemented that. I have been successful." This guy became very surprised. Said his speech was also cancelled because of the power cut. He was sweating profusely. There were so many students for whom certificate has to be given. So he asked, "I don't remember giving any speech. What is that you took from me as an advice?" "Sir, remember, sir, there's such a long queue. When my turn came, you gave me the certificate, patted me in the back, and said, 'Keep moving, keep moving.'" And that's the principle I followed in my life. I think what we need to remember is technology will keep coming and keep going. What we need to do is we need to keep moving in life and progress further and further. So thank you very much.
Such vast topic, but it was covered within such short time and in such an amazing way. And I would like to thank you, sir. This session was full of knowledge and education. And on behalf of everyone present here, may I please request Subroto Roy, sir, to please present, sir, with a memento as a token of gratitude.
Thank you. This visit is all because of Subroto da. He was the one who was responsible for all giving me this. Because I wanted travel for a long time. He was the one who pushed me again. Thank you. Thank you.